Hey, what's going on, U.S. history people? Video number 10, Hamilton's economic plan and the first party system. We got a good one for you today. So let's start off with the first party system.
And I'm Mr. Lawrence.
So Federalists were one party, and they were led by Alexander Hamilton and people like the second president, John Adams. And Washington sided with many Federalist policies, but was not a member of the party. This is very important to know. He was actually the only president in U.S. history that was not a member of a political party. Now, on the other end, we have Democratic Republicans. They were led by Thomas Jefferson, pictured here, and his good friend, James Madison, pictured there, the third and fourth presidents of the United States. So on one end, we have Alexander Hamilton. On the other end, we have Thomas Jefferson and James Madison.
Hold on, Mr. Norris. You said Washington was not a member of
He
the
was
party.
not a member of a party. This is true.
Now, why did he not choose to be a member
Well,
of the
if
party?
you remember from the last video,
Okay.
he was against political parties. He thought they would divide the nation, and he warned about that in his farewell address.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I've heard sometimes people have kind of aligned him with the Federalist Party. Why would a historian maybe, if he align him with that party?
So he definitely favored some Federalist policies. So, for example, the Bank of the United States or the bus he favored. And he did favor trade with England, which we'll see is a characteristic of the Federalist Party. But he just was not down with the idea of parties themselves.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clearing that up.
No, thanks for asking.
All right, so moving on. Why did these parties develop in the United States? It becomes kind of inevitable within our structure of having kind of a two-party system. We'll see that those two parties shift over time, but it really becomes two major parties. So there are three reasons that you have to be aware of for this course. First is the power of the federal government. The power of the federal government really is broad, and there's going to be different perspectives on how to use that power. Should the government have complete say over military, over economic issues, and there becomes a discussion within the United States of how that should be carried out, and two parties help to develop. Also, there becomes an issue over foreign policy. Different Americans have different perspectives about what's happening outside of the United States. One example was the French Revolution. Some Americans were very supportive of the French citizens overthrowing their absolute monarch during their revolution. The French helped us during our revolution. Some felt we should in turn help them. Others said we should stay out of these foreign entanglements. We should just focus on developing a strong, independent nation. Also, the issue of economic policy stemming from Hamilton's financial plan. Some people did not believe that the Constitution allowed for federal government involvement of creating the bus, which is really known as the
Bank of the U.S.
That's right. So if you read your Constitution, it doesn't say anything about the bank. But some people believe that the Elastic Clause gave it the opportunity to stretch and bend and take on more roles and responsibilities. So different perspectives lead to different parties in the United States.
All right, so power of the federal government. Federalists, led by Hamilton, are going to favor a stronger national or federal or central government. Be able to identify the words national, federal, and central are going to be used interchangeably to talk about the federal government. Democratic Republicans, they favored a smaller federal government and more power to states. Now, Madison and Jefferson, who was played in the Hamilton musical by Daveed Diggs, pictured here, they argued that states should be able to nullify federal laws. And they actually argue this in something called the Virginia-Kentucky resolutions, which we'll get into in a future video. But they believe that states should be strong enough to basically say a federal law should not be allowed.
Moving on to foreign policy between the first two political parties in the United States, we have the Democratic Republicans tended to support the French. So again, they believed in this idea of independence and overthrowing the French monarchy. France also, as we said earlier, provided support to the Americans during the American Revolution against the French, and felt it would be our responsibility to help them with their revolution. There was also the Declaration of Independence that inspired the French Revolution, really could become the basis of the Declaration of Rights of Man during their overthrow of their monarch. The Federalists, on the other hand, wanted to have a beneficial relationship with England. We were really the cousin of England. We kept a lot of English traditions. We spoke English. So there is, to the Federalists, a very common sense idea was to maintain strong relations with England so we can also have financial benefit through trade across the globe.
All right, jumping over to economic policy, we're going to go back to the Bank of the United States. If you remember from the last video, Hamilton's financial plan, that's going to pit Hamilton against Jefferson and Madison. Hamilton will take a loose interpretation of the Constitution, whereas Jefferson and Madison will take a strict interpretation and say you can't create the bank because it doesn't say you can. So the bank was the most controversial aspect of his financial plan and was really a huge contributor to creating political parties. Again, a strict interpretation was held by the Democratic Republicans and a loose was held by the Federalists. And ultimately, Washington will support the bus and sides with the Federalists, and Democratic Republicans will be emboldened to stop Federalist parties.
All right, so finally, a quick recap. 2 things we need to remember from this video. Reasons for the development of the first political parties in the United States. Keep in mind the issues of foreign policy and domestic policy and the role of the federal government, and also characteristics and the impact of Hamilton's economic plan, including was it constitutional, strict versus loose, development of the bus, issues of debt, and tariffs.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you back for video number 11. We're going to compare the elections of 1800 and 2000. Best of luck this year, and have a good day.